Imagine never paying for power again. Picture a silent machine in your garage, sipping energy from the air and lighting your world for free. That promise launched one of the strangest legends of the 1950s, the tale of Otis T. Carr. He called himself Tesla's heir and bragged about a gravity electric generator with limitless output. Believers said oil barons trembled. Skeptics said he sold dreams. He booked a public test, then failed to fly. Was he a visionary, a con man, or a threat silenced in the shadows? Let's unpack the claims, the hype, and the mystery and secrets. Who was Otis T. Carr? Picture a tall engineer from Baltimore telling anyone who would listen that he was a student of Nikola Tesla. He entered the spotlight in the 1950s, right as flying saucers filled headlines and radio talk shows. He said Tesla had pointed the way to free energy. He folded Morgan, Westinghouse, and Edison into his tale. To officials and many scientists, Carr sounded like a dreamer or worse. To his followers, he looked like a man who had found a door the world refused to open. He loved big words and bigger promises. He gave exotic names to his ideas. An neutron electric accumulator, a gravity motor, a photon gun. To reporters, he spoke in a language that mixed mysticism and geometry. He once held up a coil and said it was the true shape of space, round and square at the same time. It sounded like pulp science fiction and made people lean closer. Carr's headline claim was simple to say and staggering to believe. He said he had built a gravity electric generator. He said it could reach into the vacuum of space and draw steady power. In his brochures, he bragged that his team had tapped a universal energy supply in the form of gravity. Power, he said, would flow continuously and absolutely free. He talked about running homes, factories, and even spaceships. He even boasted that governments could have bought his saucers, but chose costly rockets instead. If true, oil and rockets would be yesterday's news. He never showed a complete working machine to the public, but he and his friends drew diagrams and told a vivid story of how it would function. The basic design placed two rings inside one another. The inner platform held batteries, strange neutron coils, and rotating plates. The outer ring held capacitor plates and a bank of electromagnets. Spin both rings on the same axis, they said, but in opposite directions and at exact speeds. Do that, and something wild would happen. Carr said the system would cancel its polarity, set up its own gravitational field, and lock onto the energy fields of space. Think of two heavy flywheels on a common shaft. They whirl in counter-rotation. If you believe Carr, the device grows light. It sheds weight and begins to generate electric current without fuel. He even claimed the metal parts went gummy at speed, as if the machine turned solid plates to jelly. Physicists rolled their eyes. He gave a few numbers, but his scale was clear. He implied his generator could produce great amounts of power as long as it stayed spinning. A single unit, he hinted, might run dozens of homes. He spoke of a 6-foot prototype that would lift like a saucer and pour out thousands of horsepower right on the spot. He also teased a full craft about 45 feet across with the power of hundreds of car engines. Drop this box in your house, he joked, and your electric bill vanishes for good. He joked it would pay for itself in short order. The laughs only fed rumors that he meant it. The future he sold sounded like a catalogue of miracles. Free electricity in every home. Cars and aeroplanes that ran without gasoline or batteries. Cheap personal saucers for weekend trips. Factories that could run 24 hours a day and pay almost nothing for energy. He said the source was around us. The power of the sun. Forces in the atmosphere. Natural fields waiting for a clever machine. One flyer from 1957 said he had developed both an electric accumulator and a gravity motor to use those powers. Even after the golden age of fossil fuels, he wrote, clean and cheap energy would still be there for the taking. Oil executives would hate that picture. Tesla's shadow gave Carr's pitch a glow. He often called Tesla his mentor. Skeptics said that was wishful branding. Still, Carr said he had at least crossed paths with the great inventor and caught the anti-gravity bug. His brochures splashed the names of Einstein and Tesla to lend weight. He and his promoter, Norman Colton, toured UFO clubs in white coats and passed out circuit drawings. Carr became a regular voice on Long John Nebel's late-night radio show, describing spinning rotors and fields drawn from space. To young listeners who believed in hidden inventions, it felt like the torch of Tesla had been passed. To critics, it felt like a show. He cast himself as Tesla's crusader for free power. He said the establishment feared another saint of invention running amok. That message resonated with UFO clubs and rebel engineers. In the summer of 1958, Carr went big. He made a deal with Frontier City, a new amusement park outside Oklahoma City. The park would get a giant saucer-shaped attraction that looked like his craft. In return, Carr promised to build a 6-foot working model of the real thing. He said he would fly the smaller disc for the public at the fairgrounds. The world could come and see. On April 19th, 1959, he said, the 6-foot disc would rise 500 feet into the morning sky. Hundreds of reporters and spectators circled the date. Some came ready to watch the end of the old energy order. At sunrise, the cameras rolled. Nothing rose. Carr did not appear. There was no gentle lift, no hum, no flight. The crowd shuffled and waited. A small model sat on a table. Its little motors spun. The big show never happened. Then came the whispers. A talk show host claimed he had found Carr in a nearby hospital that very morning, sick as a snake, and in no shape to fly anything. For believers, this was no accident. It was a warning shot. Someone had frightened the inventor off the stage. If you were in the stands, all you saw was a still craft and a promise that melted in the sun. The conspiracy version says the failure was managed. Either they needed time, or a quiet threat pushed him off stage. That is where the villains step in for many storytellers. They point to big oil. Imagine Rockefeller-linked giants reading about free power from thin air. They would have billions to lose. In the radical telling, those interests moved against Carr. A hostile investor appeared. Officials with oil ties made unhelpful calls. Banks closed their doors. Crowds were turned away. Carr's own 1957 brochure even complained that newspapers were afraid to print the truth under a kind of gangster censorship. To fans of the theory, the failed demo was not a blunder. It was a shutdown. Shortly after, another claim hardened into legend. Some say a full-size 45-foot saucer made a 10-mile test hop in secret. Shortly afterwards, federal agents raided a Texas workshop. Plans, coils, and motors vanished into trucks. Witnesses, including an associate named Ralph Ring, later told a vivid story. They say agents warned that the project would destroy the monetary system if it became public. That sentence is catnip to conspiracy believers. Whether the raid happened as told is another matter. The tale remains a tangle of memories, claims, and missing paperwork. Step back, and the pattern looks familiar. A press event, a no-show flight, a chorus of explanations. Some blame greed, some blame fear, some blame physics. Carr's language made it difficult to test the ideas. He spoke of space power and changing polarity. He welcomed belief more than measurement. In that gap, rumor thrives. Mainstream textbooks allowed no such loophole, and labs that tried similar stunts saw only spinning metal and heat. Engineers point out a hard truth. No known effect lets two spinning rings cancel gravity and produce boundless electricity. Power must come from somewhere. Machines that run forever without fuel would break the rules that keep our lights on. Carr said his device took energy from the vacuum. It also asks for proof that never arrived. The missing demonstration left a hole that stories rushed to fill. Still, hope is understandable. The 1950s were the age of rockets, reactors, and grand claims. People wanted a simple box that solved energy forever. Carr gave them diagrams, shiny coils, and a test date. When the date slipped, belief did not. It moved to the shadows. If the machine had not flown, maybe it would have stopped. Had it been stopped, maybe it would have worked. That is how legends grow. Carr's showmanship helped. Big words. Numbers are left vague enough to fit any dream. A hospital bed at the hour of destiny. You can choose your ending. Visionary silenced. Inventor exposed. The project was starved of funds. Pick one story, and the rest of the pieces line up behind it. What we can say is simple. No public verified generator ever appeared. No open demonstration delivered the lift he promised. The amusement park driver stayed for a ride. The workshop drawings became law. The raid story spread by word of mouth. Carr kept invoking Tesla, while critics kept invoking common sense. And the gravity generator took its place among the great what-ifs of fringe technology. Yet the idea still draws us in. Not because we expect a saucer to rise from a fairground, but because cheap, clean energy would change everything. That dream is larger than Carr and older than the flyers he passed out. It sits at the crossroads of hope and doubt. It asks us to weigh evidence against desire. It challenges power, and it flatters our hunger for hidden truths. Whether Carr was a visionary, a showman, or both at once, his story shows how easily a promise can outrun proof, and how, once it does, the legend often outlives the machine.